Hey, we're excited to bring Archie Hall onto our streaming show here, Fox 10 Talks. He's one of the top reporters at the Economist magazine. And Celeste, you follow them on social?
I love The Economist on Twitter. They're amazing.
And I'm just going to say, by the way, we're going to bring Archie in right now. I'm also going to say that when I'm at the airport and I know I've got a nice 3-hour flight coming up, and you go to whatever, Hudson News or whatever store, I mean, I make a beeline straight for The Economist. It's perfect for reading on a plane.
Speaking of reading, good morning to you, Archie. What are those books behind you? They look like encyclopedias.
Good morning. Yes, those are our archives. So those are the Economist magazine for, I think, 2019 through 2011.
Wow.
So it's our video background.
Nice.
Those are the ones you've been reading, Ron.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Celeste? I mean, let me just pull this up. That looks very peaceful, doesn't it?
It looks very peaceful.
Be able to go into a library and just read some back issues. I love it.
Why not?
All right. Okay. Archie, did you hear our chit chat just now? What's the most peaceful place you've ever been? And of course, you cover the whole world. There was a story that came out today that said Iceland's the most peaceful place on the planet. What do you think?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm in New York right now, which is definitely not the most peaceful place in New York. I think Midtown is about as far as you can get to the other side.
Right.
No, I've done some lovely hiking over the years. I mean, it's hard to do better than the Lake Districts in England. There's some very, very peaceful vistas over there.
Oh, love that. He likes to hike.
Okay, we have all kinds of topics we want to get into with you today. And let's just start about some of this talk now about, are the tariffs going away? The market doesn't like chaos. I'm just looking right now. It's down not quite 400 points. Where are we going on this? And what would happen if suddenly all those tariffs that were put on, or at least let's say about 80 to 90% of them, were wiped out?
Gosh, yeah, it's pretty mad. So if all the tariffs were wiped out, and most of them were, I think the markets would be pretty ecstatic. That doesn't seem likely to happen. So the thing that's been in the news recently that you're referring to is that we've had a series of court decisions, including one recently a couple of days ago, that have said that a chunk of the tariffs, those under what's called IEEPA, an International Economic Emergencies Act, could be illegal and could be potentially struck down by the Supreme Court. And right now, that's a lot of the tariffs out there. That's your reciprocal tariffs that were announced with a big sandwich board on Liberation Day, if you remember that, and many others. Now, if the president wants to, even if the Supreme Court does ultimately side with some of these lower court rulings and decide the IEEPA tariffs are illegal and do have to be struck down, there are other ways to reconstitute those tariffs. You'd have to do it in a slightly slower way, a slightly messier way. You'd have to maybe go sector by sector or launch some investigations. But really, ultimately, if the president does want to have high tariffs across the board, he can probably get there. But this is definitely a bump on the road in the meantime if these court rulings do hold up.
Archie, kind of looking at it from a bigger picture, do you think these tariffs have at all helped since the president took office?
Yeah.
Like,
what about bringing those manufacturing jobs back? That
right,
kind of thing,
exactly.
Right?
Or now we're talking about, making the prescription drugs here in the United States versus overseas. There's a lot of fear, I think, around tariffs, but do you think they're being used as a negotiation tool successfully?
It's difficult to say. And I think one thing that makes the tariffs really challenging is that even just in your question, you can see that for different people and even for the president himself at different times, the tariffs are being kind of used for different goals. So if you did really, really want to bring back manufacturing jobs, the thing you should do is say these tariffs are here, they're here to stay, they're not going anywhere. So if you want to bring a factory back to the US that is only going to be economically viable, is only going to work on the assumption it's kind of behind this big tariff wall, then you really, really want to be certain that tariff wall is going to stay there, because the last thing you want to do as a company is spend 5-10 years bringing a huge factory over to the US, hiring a ton of people, and then a future administration gets rid of the tariffs, and you're back to a situation where you're not able to compete with other countries that can do that more cheaply. On the other hand, if you're trying to use the tariffs as a negotiation tool, and all you really want is to persuade a bunch of other countries to do what you want, be it on getting the Europeans to get rid of the digital taxes or just generally kind of bossing around countries around the world, then you do want the tariffs to be variable and movable, because you do want to say, if you do this particular thing, we will actually get rid of the tariffs. There is a carrot as well as a stick. And I think part of the difficulty is that sometimes you hear that first argument from the administration. These tariffs are here to say they are designed to economically transform the country, bring back manufacturing, and you can quibble, we certainly have, as to whether that's realistic, but they've said that. And on the other hand, sometimes it's this negotiating tool that's kind of coming and going, and it's really hard to have it both ways.
Well, we only have about a minute or two left here, so let me just jump in and ask you about housing. There's a new survey that came out today that said families looking for better schools want to move, and that's like a top criteria for them. But that in this survey, the average home, if it was anywhere in a good school district, could be $1 million or more. So it just brings up the whole question. I think you're the perfect guy to kind of get into this. What has to happen for more homes to get built in this country? And why are we in a situation where these housing prices just keep going up and interest rates are up there at almost 7%?
It's pretty remarkable. I think if you told almost anyone 3 years ago that the mortgage rate was going to 7%, and where would house prices be, they would not say where they are now, which is maybe a little bit down, but not a ton, down a bit more after you account for inflation. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's two things that I think lie behind the kind of home issue. One is in a lot of cities, I mean, I'm sitting here from New York, there is a real issue with zoning codes being very restrictive, and it's just very, very difficult to legally build new homes because you have to meet all these different requirements. It's very, very expensive, and often you're literally banned from doing so. So in a lot of big cities, particularly city centers, that's a real problem. Elsewhere in the country, I mean, obviously America has tons and tons of space, in many cases doesn't have those issues. Then it is, as you say, that kind of financing question, which is that it is very, very hard if you're a home builder and you're staring at incredibly high borrowing rates to do the financing to actually build those homes, to go ahead and do that. And so we've seen a big decline in housing starts since interest rates started going up, and that looks likely to stay until they start coming down.
All right. Archie, will you come visit with us again sometime? I learned a lot, Celeste, in the last 7 minutes. How about you?
So did I, yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you, Archie.
Thank you, Archie.